Well, good evening, everyone. Your Excellency, Bishop Brehl, Reverend Fathers and Deacons, Mayor Schulist, members of the Board of Directors, past President Dr. Schinken, faculty, staff, students, benefactors, and honored guests. Thank you for being here this evening as Our Lady Seat of Wisdom College opens a new academic year and as I have been formally installed as president. I stand before you all today aware of the weight of the office I am assuming, but also with joy and hope because I believe so strongly in the mission of this college. To be entrusted with its leadership is both a responsibility and a privilege, one that I accept with reverence and with confidence in God's grace. As an alumnus, I have received so much from this institution. My time here as a student was truly life-changing, and I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the college's mission in this new role. So this evening I'm going to give a brief inaugural address, but before I begin, I want to make two brief remarks. Are we getting some feedback? Is it okay? Is it okay? Fine? Okay, perfect. All right. First, it's important that we as a community remember today the first anniversary of the passing of Father Joseph Hattie. Oh my. Father Hattie served as associate chaplain of our college from 2011 to 2020, and he had a great impact on the college. But his ministry stretched far beyond our campus. Over many decades, he gave himself tirelessly from coast to coast, from Halifax to Vancouver, touching lives across this country. For many of us here, Father Hattie's influence was deeply felt, even before he set foot as chaplain on this campus. It was through Father Hattie more than 20 years ago that Jenna and I first heard of Our Lady Seat of Wisdom. He celebrated our wedding in 2008. To us, and countless others, he was a spiritual father, a teacher, and an example of priestly fidelity. Father Hattie was truly one of the great heroes of the Church in Canada. At great personal cost, he spent his priesthood championing the Church's teachings on life, on marriage, on family, especially the prophetic teaching of Humanae Vitae, in season and out of season. So we give thanks for his life and pray for the repose of his soul today on the first anniversary of his passing. Second, I just want to express gratitude to those who have helped make this event possible. To Bishop Brehl, to our chaplain, Father Christie, to all of the priests who are here to celebrate Mass with us, for joining us here, to Father Olszewski and St. Mary's Parish for their hospitality, to Dr. Logan Weir and Miss Adriana Catuli, Miss Hannah Felski, for our SLAs, Mary Jo Sylvester and Luciette Ottenbright, to Mr. John Bosco, to our cook, Miss Bridget McMillan, who cooked our wonderful dinner tonight, to Mr. Santiago Larota and Chris Sabiga, who are doing our photography and videos, and to all of the student volunteers who helped set up, who are going to be cleaning afterwards, to all of those who helped transport our students. So many people have come together to put on this wonderful event tonight. And of course, I also want to thank our faculty for their witness and again renewing their oath of fidelity. This is a practice that is truly pivotal to our identity as a Catholic educational institution. So thank you all for your generosity and dedication. Now, I will turn to the address itself. The beginning of an academic year and the inauguration of a new presidency is a privileged moment to reflect on our purpose and mission as an institution. And this evening, as I begin my service as president, I'm honored to offer this brief inaugural address. As a theme tonight, I thought it appropriate to go right to the heart of who we are as an institution. The title of my talk is The Mission of the Catholic University in a Post-Christian Culture. Our Lady Seat of Wisdom College stands within a great Christian tradition of higher learning, stretching back to the medieval universities of Europe and to the classical and patristic heritage from which they drew inspiration. As a Catholic college, we are committed to a mission that is given to us by the magisterium, a mission expressed so so clearly by St. John Paul II in his 1990 Apostolic Constitution Excordia Ecclesiae, the Magna Carta for Catholic universities. He reminds us that the Catholic University is born from the heart of the Church and that it has an indispensable mission for both the Church and the world. The mission of the Catholic University is perennial. It is the same in every age. Yet, in each era, this mission must be embodied in ways that respond to the needs and challenges of the day. Today, we find ourselves in what is often described as a post-Christian culture, and this has an important impact on how we live our mission. So, in what follows, I'd like to reflect on the mission of the Catholic University in two parts. The first part is entitled, "The Catholic University as a Shared Pursuit of Wisdom." And the second part is called, "The Catholic University Called to Mission in a Post-Christian Culture." So I begin with the first part. St. John Paul II, in Excordia Ecclesiae, described the Catholic University as a community of scholars animated by the Spirit of Christ and united by the ardent search for truth. At its heart, the Catholic University is about the shared pursuit of wisdom by a community of men and women bound together by faith and friendship. I'd like to reflect a bit on what this means. Now, I am a theologian who was first introduced to the Catholic theological and philosophical tradition as a student here at Our Lady Seat of Wisdom by our own beloved professors, Professor Meenan, Professor Schinken, Professor Nicholson. It's no surprise then that I have become a Thomist, a disciple of St. Thomas Aquinas. And so, as I pondered what I might say in this inaugural address, my thoughts turned naturally to St. Thomas himself, and in particular to his own inaugural lecture when he assumed the chair of theology at the University of Paris in 1256. That lecture, known as Regens Montes, takes its theme from Psalm 104, verse 13. "From your lofty abode, you water the mountains." Reflecting on this verse, Aquinas writes, "From the heights of divine wisdom, the minds of the learned are watered, by whose ministry the light of divine wisdom reaches to the minds of those who listen." The image he uses here is striking. Wisdom descends from above, like water flowing down a mountain, and teachers act as channels of that living water, mediating the gift of divine wisdom to their students. In the Summa Theologiae, Aquinas elaborates on this theme of the vocation of the teacher with a phrase that became a motto of his Dominican order, "Contemplata aliis tradere," to hand on to others the fruits of contemplation. Teaching is not simply the transfer of knowledge from one mind to another. It's the sharing of what has first been received, pondered, and made one's own in prayer and study. The teacher's first task is to contemplate the truth, to grow in wisdom and knowledge. The second task is then to share that wisdom and knowledge with others. Aquinas considered this task, uniting contemplation and action, to be the highest of vocations, imitating the life of Christ himself. The teacher pursues wisdom for its own sake, but shares it rather than keeping it to himself, and in fact grows in wisdom in the very act of sharing it. As light multiplies when it's reflected, so too wisdom grows when it is handed on. The first reading at yesterday's Mass was on this very topic, taken from the Book of Wisdom. "The reasoning of mortals is worthless, and our designs are likely to fail. Who has learned thy counsel, unless thou hast given wisdom and sent thy Holy Spirit from on high?" True wisdom is not our achievement. It is a divine gift, illuminating our minds and hearts so that we may order all things rightly and see reality from God's perspective. It is not mere information, or technical expertise, not simply the accumulation of facts or skills. It is the ability to see the whole, to perceive the truth of things in relation to their ultimate end in God. Seeing the whole, grasping the nature of reality from first causes, is fundamental to the aim of the Catholic University and a liberal arts education. St. Thomas says that wisdom means judging according to divine causes. But it's not only a matter of reasoning things through step by step, but something deeper. It's a discernment born from connaturality with God, from a kind of instinct that comes from being united in charity with He who is truth and goodness. And this is why a Catholic education seeks wisdom not only through intellectual learning, but also through growth in virtue. Moral and spiritual formation dispose the soul to see rightly, so that the knowledge we acquire can be ordered to the highest end, the love of God and neighbor. Wisdom, Aquinas insists, is both speculative and practical. An activity of the intellect, yes, but also of the will. The Aristotelian Thomistic tradition has always emphasized the union of thought and action, of intellectual and moral virtue. To form the mind while neglecting the will and the passions is to leave the person divided. It is true that one can be intelligent, yet corrupt, or simple, yet holy. But in an ordered life, intellectual and moral formation work together in harmony, shaping both the mind to see what is true and the heart to love what is good. We can see then how important community is to the pursuit of wisdom. At Our Lady's Seat of Wisdom College, this mission of pursuing wisdom takes shape in every dimension of our common life. In the classroom, students are drawn into the great tradition of Western and Christian thought under the guidance of faculty who have themselves been formed by it. And beyond the classroom, in residences, in the church, on sports fields, and around the dinner table, they learn to live according to what they study, ordering their loves rightly, growing in virtue, and forming lasting bonds of friendship. In this sense, our college's small size is not a weakness, but a strength. Because we are small, we can live, pray, and learn together as one community. The bonds formed here are real and lasting. Our scale allows us to embody in a concrete way the vision of a true Catholic college, a household of faith and scholarship, where every member, faculty, staff, and student alike, knows each other and participates together in this shared mission. And in this light, we can also see the simplicity of our life as a strength. We do not seek great wealth or worldly prestige, though we might like a bit more wealth sometimes. Don't worry, development team, we still need you. But our simplicity is a gift. In a world marked by noise, distraction, and excess, simplicity is not a limitation, but a charism. It allows us to focus on what truly matters, the search for truth, the growth of virtue, the love of God and neighbor. Okay, now on to the second part of my address. The Catholic University called to mission in a post-Christian culture. While our college is a community, it is not an enclave. St. John Paul II reminds us that the Catholic University is at the service of the Church and of humanity. It does not exist to shield itself from the world, but to engage the world, playing an essential role in the Church's evangelizing mission. We live in a world marked by confusion and fragmentation, a world that often questions whether truth exists at all. In so many ways, our culture has forgotten its Christian roots, and in that forgetting has lost its orientation toward wisdom. Secularism promises freedom, but so often delivers emptiness and enslavement. Relativism promises tolerance, but breeds division and intolerance. In the midst of this cultural disorientation, the Catholic University has an urgent mission: to consecrate itself to the cause of truth, in the words of Excordia Ecclesiae, but also in doing so to prepare students to go out and renew the culture. We are called to both go deep and to go out, to go deep into the riches of our Catholic tradition, into the mysteries of faith, into the life of the Spirit, so that we can stand firm amidst the cultural storms. But also to go out, not hiding the riches we receive, but sharing them for the renewal of families, parishes, communities, and the church. Here again, Aquinas' famous phrase gives us the key: contemplata aliis tradere. We first contemplate through study and prayer, but then we hand on to others the fruits of our contemplation in service and witness. To do this, the Catholic University cannot content itself by sealing itself off within its own tradition of faith. Studying that tradition is primary and essential, but it's not enough. We must also grapple with the culture of our times. As the Second Vatican Council urged, we must learn to interpret the signs of the times in the light of the gospel. Understood properly, this is an evangelical duty. Across our disciplines here at the college, we examine the ideas that shape our age, their origins and development, and their influence on the minds and hearts of our contemporaries. We do this in various ways: in history, literature, philosophy, theology, maybe not Latin, I'm not sure. But certainly in most of these disciplines. We need to understand contemporary intellectual currents like postmodernism, like wokeism, and how they stem from earlier distortions in the late medieval and modern period. By studying these ideas, we strengthen our own faith, but we also learn to speak convincingly to the needs and concerns of those we meet in our workplaces, parishes, and communities. At times, we may even discover within these ideas some kernels of truth, distorted or obscured, but capable of being purified and integrated into a fuller vision of reality. Thomism, the school of St. Thomas, itself has grown through critical engagement with thinkers who came after Aquinas, even with those whose systems departed radically from his. Still, in our post-Christian culture today, while we must engage critically and constructively with contemporary movements of thought, our principal task is to stand firm in faith and be a beacon of light in the darkness of our times, showing forth the eternal truth. A Catholic university, like the Church herself, must stand as a sign of contradiction in a world that is abandoned and often opposes the faith. We must form students to go out and be this light in our culture, to go out and be signs of contradiction. We must eschew a posture of retreat or despair in the face of our cultural challenges. We need to go forth in hope. What then is the mission of the Catholic University in our times? In truth, it is what it has always been: to seek wisdom together as a community of faith and scholarship, to go deep into the treasures of our faith, and to hand on to the world the fruits of that wisdom. To form students who unite depth of contemplation with courage of action, who can read the signs of the times in the light of the gospel, and who are prepared to witness with confidence and joy to the truth that sets us free. This is the mission of Our Lady Seat of Wisdom College today: to serve the Church, to renew the culture, to bear witness to Christ. We cannot control the outcome of our labors, but we can consecrate ourselves to this mission. And when we do, we trust that divine wisdom from above will bear fruit through us, often in ways that we cannot foresee. It is not a small task, but it is a noble one. And it's one that we embrace together with confidence that the God who has begun this good work in us will bring it to completion. The true measure of our success will not be found in numbers or worldly prestige, but in the lives of our graduates, in their fidelity to Christ, in their witness to truth and charity, and in the hope they carry into a world so often marked by despair. Now, as I conclude here, I'd like to offer a word of exhortation to our students as they begin their studies this academic year. And this will echo remarks that I gave to our first years at orientation, but it will do you well to hear it again. Just yesterday, as Bishop Brehl mentioned at Mass today, Pope Leo XIV canonized two saints who are powerful examples to us all, but I think especially to you young people, Saints Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati. I would like to speak about Pier Giorgio Frassati here a little bit. Frassati was a university student, and for me he was a great model when I was your age after I read a biography about him. He was born in Turin, Italy in 1901, and he grew up in a prominent but not particularly devout family. He died tragically young in 1925 at only 24 years old, after contracting polio while he served the poor. And he was beatified by Pope John Paul II in 1990, who called him the man of the eight Beatitudes, the man of the eight Beatitudes. Now, Frassati was in many ways an ordinary young man. He loved hiking in the Alps. He loved poetry, especially Dante. He loved his friends, and he was known for his laughter, his joy, his warmth. And yet, he lived his ordinary life as a student in an extraordinary way. He went to daily Mass, and he prayed the Rosary. He served the poor tirelessly, often giving away his own possessions. He was involved in political and cultural life, seeking justice in society. And he sought balance in his study, prayer, recreation, and friendship in a way that made holiness seem not only possible, but attractive. And Frassati's motto was, verso l'alto, to the heights. For him, it was not just about climbing mountains, of course, but it was striving for holiness, seeking the heights of union with God. So that's the call I would like to present to you students, to go higher, to seek wisdom and holiness, to make your life an ascent toward God. Verso l'alto. Don't settle for mediocrity. The year will pass quickly. Make the most of the time you have. So I exhort you here. Pursue excellence in your studies. Embrace the church's sacramental life. Invest in building deep friendships that strengthen you in virtue and holiness. Live with discipline, simplicity, and balance. And when inevitably challenges come, face them with perseverance and with trust in Christ. If you do these things, you will not only become a better student, but a better disciple of Christ and a better witness in the world. As we begin this new academic year, we entrust this college, its faculty, staff, students, and benefactors, to the intercession of Our Lady, Seat of Wisdom. May she, who treasured the word in her heart and gave him to the world, intercede for us, that we may always unite contemplation with mission, and so fulfill the vocation entrusted to us. Thank you.